ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमा विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome all to our Bhakti Vaibhav course. Yesterday we had completed chapter 1. So some devotees gave feedback that that style of Harilila Prabhu is we missed the track. So completing first all the verses and then going to the purports. So today we'll try another style. Normal style, verse and then purport, like that. Because today 35 verses are there. Yesterday 66 verses. Only no verses, huh? Some devotees want verses also. Somebody told me before the course beginning that verses should be sent. So trying to satisfy as many as possible. I'm also not good in reciting verses, but some devotees want that. But still, we'll do verse, translation, and purport. Few lines we will see, not all purports and not complete purports like that. So 35 verses we have today to cover. Daksha curses Lord Shiva. So hopefully all of you have Subodhini also with you and your own copy also Bhagavatam. Recite the verse together and mic is there and translation and some part of the purport, some lines. So one devotee can read one because today 35 verses are there. We have almost 35 devotees. Okay, first verse. We recite together. विदुर उवाच भवेशीलवतां श्रेष्ठे दक्षो दुहित्रवत्सला विद्वेषम् अकरोत् कस्मात् अनादृत्यात्मजां सतीम्.
Vidura inquired, why was Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Sita? Sati.
Sati. Purport, yeah. Few lines you can
Purport.
read.
In the second chapter of fourth canto, the cause of dissension between Lord Shiva and Daksha, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Daksha for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. Lord Shiva is described here as the best of the gentle because he is not envious of anyone. He is equal to all living entities, and all other good qualities are present in his personality. The word Shiva means all auspicious. No one can be no one can be an enemy of Lord Shiva's, for he is so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence, but lives underneath a tree, always detached from all worldly things. The personality of the personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. Why then was Daksha, who offered his beloved daughter to such a gentle personality, inimical toward Lord Shiva so intensely that Sati, the daughter of Daksha and wife of Lord Shiva, gave up her body?
Right. So here Lord Shiva is described as gentle, peaceful, all auspicious. So Vidura is asking question, why he had enmity with Daksha. Hmm. So recently I read one pastime of Lord Shiva and Tukaram Maharaj in our that book, Vrindavan Prabhu. So once Tukaram Maharaj, along with his three associates, visit one place called Kotaleshwar Mahadev. I don't know where it is, but that is the temple of on the hill of Mahadev. So they wanted to visit. So Tukaram Maharaj, along with his three associates, they go from Dehu, and then after like 1 week of walking, and then ultimately they reach the foothills of that temple, the Kotaleshwar Mahadev on the top of the hill. So then they think of going. Then they think the associates they say that we'll go and take darshan. So Tukaram Maharaj says no. First we'll first we'll be here. We'll do prayers to Lord Shiva and we'll cook nice bhoga for him and offer him, and then later we'll go for darshan. So they agree, and then they cook big. From there they gather some do madhukari and they cook something, and when they are about to offer and take that time, a person comes with like naked without clothes and with big jata there, and there he says that I am very hungry. So governor says that, oh yes, we have cooked prasad, they had offered, and now they were about to eat. So that time he comes, so you sit, we have cooked for all of us. So then his associates make five plate means for them and plus him. So Tukaram Maharaj says, no, make only one plate. First let him take, and then later we'll take. So then that person sits, Baba, and then he eats. So he starts eating, that he finishes whole whatever they have made for everybody. So he's finished, and then Tukaram says he is very happy, and then he goes. And then Tukaram Maharaj says, see, we would have made plates for us, then he would be hungry. So good that he got prasad and he is happy. So we'll cook again. So no problem. And then when they go and see the vessels, they open the lid, the prasad is as it is, full. And then later Tukaram Maharaj gets the revelation that he is Lord Shiva himself, comes to meet Tukaram Maharaj and wanted to taste from his hand the prasad like that. So like that was the glory of Tukaram Maharaj. So Lord Shiva here is mentioned as very gentle, peaceful, absorbed, so much renounced. He doesn't have even a house. He had house, but on the first day of the housewarming, he gave away the house. like that. So how come he had enmity with Daksha? Yes, Vidura is asking. Then the second question again he asks ahead, second verse. कस्तं चराचरगुरुं निर्वैरं शान्तविग्रहम् आत्मारामं कथं द्वेष्टि जगतो दैवतं महत्. Translation. Next devotee.
Lord, the spiritual master of the entire world, is free from the enmity. He is a peaceful personality and is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest among the demigods. How it is possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality?
Okay, fine. So, yeah. So in this, he's asking how Daksha can be envious of such a great personality like Lord Shiva. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur says, if means Lord Shiva represents Guru, mm, and we should not be envious of Guru. So he says, if externally the Guru shows enmity or a disturbed body, one should still not hate him. Do not even consider other qualities. Since Shiva is Guru for the whole world and the presiding deity of the world, how was it possible for Daksha to show hatred for him? Since Daksha was living within this universe under Lord Shiva, how could he hate him? Lord Shiva is in charge of all this material world and he is the Guru, Jagat Guru. And how could Daksha hate him? This Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says like that. So Vidura is asking same question. Third verse. Three in these three verses, Vidura is asking question. एतद् आख्याहि मे ब्रह्मन् जामातु स्वश्रुषयश्च विद्वेषस्तु यथा प्राणं त्यज्ये दुष्टजान् सति.
My dear Maitreya, to part with one's life is very difficult. Would you kindly explain to me how such a son in law and father in law could quarrel so bitterly that the great goddess Sati could give up her life?
Hmm. Next. मैत्रेय उवाच पुरा विश्वसृजां सत्रे समेता परमाश्रयः तथामरगण सर्वे सानुगमुनयोग्नयः. Yes.
The sage Maitreya said, in a former time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers.
Okay, read the purport also.
Upon being asked by Vidura, the sage Maitreya began to explain the cause of the misunderstanding between Lord Shiva and Daksha, because of which the goddess Sati gave up her body. Thus begins the history of a great sacrifice performed by the leaders of the universal creation, namely Marichi, Daksha, and Vasishta. These great personalities arranged for a great sacrifice, for which demigods like Indra and the fire gods assembled with their followers. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were also present.
Next. तत्र प्रविष्टं ऋषयो दृष्ट्वार्कम् इव रोचिषा भ्रजमानं वितिमिरान् कुर्वन्तं तान् महत्सदा.
When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered that assembly, his personal body lustre as bright as the effulgence of the sun. The entire assembly was illuminated, and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence.
Next. उदस्तिष्ठान् सदस्यास्ते स्वधिष्णेभ्य सहाग्नय ऋते विरिञ्चां सर्वं च तद्भासक्षिप्तचेतसा.
Influenced, influenced by his personal bodily luster, all the fire gods and other participants in that great assembly, with the exceptions of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksha.
Next. सदस्पतिभिर्दक्षो भगवान् साधु सत्कृता अजं लोकगुरुं नत्वा निशासात् तद् अज्ञया.
Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the great assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat.
It प्रानिशन्नं मृदं दृष्ट्वा नामृष्यत्तद् अनादृत उवाच वामं चक्षुर्भ्याम् अभिवीक्ष्य इव.
Before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. At that time, Daksha became greatly angry, and his eyes glowing, he began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva.
Purport also can.
Lord Shiva, being the son in law of Daksha, was expected to show his father in law respect by standing with the others. But because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are the principal demigods, their positions are greater than Daksha's. Daksha, however, could not tolerate this, and he took it as an insult by his son in law. Previously, also, he was not very much satisfied with Lord Shiva, for Shiva looked very poor and was niggardly in dress.
Hmm. So here now, when the yajna is arranged by Daksha and all the demigods come there and they are sitting, and when he arrives there with his bright lustre, so everybody, all the demigods stand except Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. They don't stand. mm. And then he observes that, and then of course he goes and takes, he offers obeisance to Brahma, and then he is about to sit, but then he feels why Lord Shiva has not stood up. Then he becomes very angry. So here, uh, one principle is there: one should command respect and not demand respect. So I remember when in our school once we had maybe fifth, sixth standard like that. So one of the boys, our friend, he was coming inside the gate from the school, yeah, inside the school in the morning, and our principal also was also coming simultaneously there, and they both came, and then later that friend came to the class, and sir also came, our principal sir, his class was there, and in the beginning only when we stood up, everybody stood up, we wished him. He called this boy who had met him at the gate, and he called in front of everybody, and he gave a very tight slap to him in front of everybody. I still remember. And he said, "This boy didn't wish me when I met him at the gate." I was surprised. I still remember our principal. And I was thinking that for such a thing, he should have such a behavior that naturally we should feel to respect. That one should command respect, not demand. It was like demanding and slapped him. I still remember that. So one's behavior should be such that one should command respect and not demand respect. Like that. So so here Daksha's behavior, rather like Chaitanya was telling, actually Daksha had arranged the sacrifice, so it was his responsibility to welcome everybody, rather than expecting, he is not standing, he is not standing. You should stand and welcome everybody at the gate. That is your responsibility. Just like in Rajsuyajna, when Yudhishthir and Lord Krishna, and they were welcoming all of them. And Lord Krishna was washing the feet, and Yudhishthir Maharaj was welcoming everybody. So because he is the host, he is supposed to welcome the guest, and not rather expect the guests are not standing. So rather it's the opposite, like that. So so we see that Raksha, he felt offended because these two, and Lord Shiva is not standing. But now if we see, so many of the demigods were standing. So 33 crore demigods, they stood up. So that he couldn't see, but he saw one demigod didn't stand up. Yeah. So that is the nature of mind. So he was telling that Chaitanya Champu, that how one should be grateful for what we have got, rather than thinking of what we have not got. Mm. So the opposite word for grateful is resentful. Grateful is and resentful. Resentful means always in complaining mode. I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. But what you have, that person doesn't see. What I don't have. So that is resentful. So grateful, opposite resentful. So Daksha was not grateful. There is so many people are standing. I should be grateful they're standing. One person is not standing. He is seeing that. He is affected by that. So one story he was telling that there was one woman who had two sons, and they have different shops. So once the old lady, her first son was having the shop of sun goggles. mm, in the in the heat summer require goggles. So that shop he had, the first son, and the another son, he had the shop of umbrellas. Mm. So this woman, she would see, she would be always crying throughout the year. She would see that whenever there is sun, the son who is having the shop of umbrella, he is sitting and he is not having business. So she would cry. And when there would be rains, the another son who is having sun goggles shop, he is not doing anything, and she would see him and cry. So she would be always crying. So then one monk, he came and he asked, why you are always crying? Oh my mother. So she said like this. So he said, why don't you change your vision exactly opposite? Hmm? When there is rains, you see your son who has umbrella, he is flourishing and keep smiling. Hmm? And when it's summer, you see the son who has sun goggles, he is having business and keep smiling. So throughout the year, you will keep smiling. Oh, this is that, yeah. So, so how that mind actually tries to focus on what we don't have, hmm, and tries to cry. But we can see that so many things there God has given to us. We can be grateful and be happy always. Saratana Swami Maharaj says that a grateful heart is a happy heart. Hmm. So Daksha couldn't see that so many people are welcoming him. Brahma welcomed and others welcomed, and one person didn't stand, but he focused on that. Or we see Hiranyakashipu's example. No? He was having everything. Only one person was not giving him respect. That was who? Prahlad. You neglect him, you enjoy. The whole universe is yours. Hmm? Keep Prahlad in house arrest somewhere, he will do his bhakti. You enjoy. But why? He is not respect. Hmm? For that purpose, actually, he had to give up his body. Otherwise, he could have enjoyed nicely. Hmm? So he was not grateful. He was resentful. Hmm? Why? He is not chanting my names like that. So Daksha, seeing that Lord Shiva has not stood up, he become disturbed. Hmm? And and then later we'll see that how, uh, yeah, he feels offended. 8th verse, okay. 9th verse will go. 8th we completed, na? 9th. श्रूयतां ब्रह्मर्षयो मे सहदेवा सहाग्नय साधूनां ब्रुवतो वृत्तं नाञ्जनान्न च मत्सरत्. Okay. Yeah.
All
Translation.
sages, brahmanas, and fire gods present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy.
Translation.
Purport.
Purport also.
I am speaking against Lord Shiva. In speaking against Lord Shiva, Daksha tried to pacify the assembly by presenting in a very tactful way that he was going to speak about the manners of gentle persons. Although naturally this might affect some unmannerly upstarts and the assembly might be unhappy because they did not want even unmannerly persons to be offended. In other words, he was in a complete knowledge that he was speaking against Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's spotless character. As far as envy is concerned, from the very beginning he was envious of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he could not distinguish his own particular envy. Although he spoke like a man in ignorance, he wanted to cover his statements by saying that he was not speaking for impudent and envious reasons.
So here Daksha announces that whatever I am going to speak is truth. without envy. So in the beginning only he clarifies. So here Vishwanath Chakra Thakur says, uh, says that if one shows no hatred for such persons, then such person will commit offense again and again. Means Lord Shiva will keep going on offending. So better is we should show hatred and correct. So somebody may say, then you speak like this because of ignorance of the good nature of Lord Shiva. Then Daksha says, no, I do not speak out of ignorance, and I have not known hatred from birth. This is what Daksha is thinking. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur writes. So actually he is full of envy, but he is saying that I am not envious. So like that fish who is inside the water. So he doesn't see that the level of water is decreasing in the summertime because he is inside the water only. The person who is outside the water, he can see that water level is decreasing and soon the fish may die. In Bhagavatam 10th canto, this analogy comes. So Daksha was under the influence of envy and he is thinking, I am not envious. So he cannot see that. We can see that he is speaking, but he was convinced that I am not speaking out of envy. So Chaitanya Guru says that Maya covers and she covers the covering also. So one is covered and then Maya covers the covering that you don't know that you are covered also. So that is how Maya acts. So there is another one of our teacher. So who is in college, his name was Subramanyam. So he would teach us, he was a good teacher, but he had a habit of smoking. I was like chain smoker. He would smoke so much like that. So we would so many times think that why this person is smoking so much, it's not good for his health and like that. Always smoking, teaching and then smoking and like that. So he one day said, what do you feel? That this smoking, I cannot leave it. Leaving, if I decide, I will leave it immediately, right now. You are feeling pity on me or what? I cannot leave smoking. So he said, I can leave it anytime. So this giving up smoking is so easy that I have given it many times. So he was under the influence, but he was thinking, no, I am the controller. So outside people could see what is the reality. So like that, this Daksha, he was envious and saying that I am not envious. I am speaking this out of truth. So like that, then Lord, he is about to curse now. He will actually then tell what is Lord Shiva and like that, and then at the end he will curse Daksha. So 10th verse. अयं तु लोकपालानां यशोघ्नो निरपत्रप सद्भिराचरितः पन्था येन स्तब्धेन दूषिता.
Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act. Daksha wanted to impress upon the minds of all the great sages assembled in that meeting that Shiva, being one of the demigods, had ruined the good reputations of all the demigods by his unmannerly behavior. The words used against the Lord Shiva by Daksha can also be understood in a different way, in a good sense. For example, he stated that Shiva is Yashogna, which means one who spoils name and fame. So this can also be interpreted to mean that he was so famous that his fame killed all other fame. Again, Daksha used the word Nirapatrapa, which also can be used in two senses. One sense is one who is stunted, and another sense is one who is the maintainer of persons who have no other shelter. Generally, Lord Shiva is known as the Lord of the Bhutas or lower grade of living creatures. They take shelter of Lord Shiva because he is very kind to everyone and is very quickly satisfied. Therefore, he is called Ashutosh. To such men who cannot approach other demigods or Vishnu, Lord Shiva gives shelter. Therefore, the word
Nirapatrapa can be used in that sense.
Hmm. This Saraswata Artha. Saraswati is meaning different. So Yashogna, Nirapatrapa. Yashogna is one who spoils name and fame, but then it can be interpreted as one by whose fame others' fame are killed. Nirapatrapa uh, can mean one who is shameless or one who is the maintainer of people who has no shelter, like that. So where else such Saraswat meaning comes in Bhagavatam? Ah, that time also. Which are the words we remember? We don't know. Hiranyakashipu. Cursing Varadeva. Yeah. So Prahlad is acha, saying Prahlad. Okay. And then Indra also telling about the Krishna, Vachalam, Balisha, Stabda. There also meaning is there. Yes. Saraswat Artha. Saraswat Artha is like different meaning. Because we don't know so much Sanskrit, I also don't know exactly how that another meaning is there. But according to the grammar rules, it can mean two meanings. And actually, when even this Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, and Ravan, they were doing austerities. That time also Saraswati comes for help. When Brahma becomes pleased and he appears, so that time Kumbhakarna wants to ask, Benedict Ravana asks and others ask. Then Kumbhakarna's turn comes. Then what he wants to ask? He wants to ask Nityatvam, means let me remain eternally. Nityatvam. But then Saraswati sits on the tongue and she says Nidratvam. Nityatvam ka Nidratvam ho gayi. Tathastu. Then Brahmaji immediately runs away from there and after giving Ashirwad. Like this. There are many Saraswat meanings. Different. Okay. 11th verse. एष मे शिष्यतां प्राप्तो यन्मे दुहितुरग्रहित पानिं विप्राग्निमुक्ता सावित्र्या इव साधुवत्.
He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and Brahmanas. He has, he has married my daughter, who is equal to Gayatri, and has pretended to be just like an honest person. Daksha's statement that Lord Shiva pretended to be an honest person means that Shiva was dishonest because, in spite of accepting the position of Daksha's son in law, he was not respectable to Daksha.
So, although Lord Shiva is son-in-law of Daksha, his position as the demigod is higher than Daksha. But Daksha was thinking, he is my son-in-law, he should respect. Like that. So he becomes very angry ahead and he will tell so many things about Lord Shiva and then finally will curse. So, this Gaurang Darshan was telling about the anger. So, how anger is one short letter of danger. Only you add a D before anger, it becomes danger. So, like that, anger is actually equivalent to danger. So, anger should be used as an extra wheel and not as a steering wheel. In a vehicle, when you drive, the steering wheel is always, we are behind the steering wheel. So, steering wheel always we use. So, anger should not be used as a steering wheel. That this devotee, this Prabhu is angry Prabhu. Always use, you are afraid to go near. So, he uses anger as a steering wheel. But anger should be used as a extra wheel. It's there na, below the car, Stephanie. Sometimes we use whenever it's necessary. So anger should be used whenever it's necessary. Sometimes it can be used, not always. So Daksha was like angry man. Always. So for a little thing he became angry, and so much angry that inproportionately angry, and later he only himself has to suffer for that anger. So we see throughout Bhagavatam, those who got angry unproportionately, then they had to face the reaction. Just like the example we know is Durvas. Durvas became so angry on Ambrish Maharaj. And for that, he only had to suffer. So he came for eating prasad, and he could have quietly eaten, but he did drama. That's why he had to fast for 1 year. So he became unproportionately angry on Amrish. Who else in Bhagavatam? Shringi became so much angry on Parikshit Maharaj. For such small offense, he gave such a big curse. Who else? Unproportionate anger in Bhagavatam? Dhruva Maharaj. Ati Rosh. Ati Rosh. He became too much angry on the Yakshas. He went on killing the whole race only. Who else? Pardon? Chitraketu on whom? Acha, Parvati became angry on Chitraketu. Okay, yeah, that is there. That was too much anger shown on Chitraketu for such a small comment. Yeah. Who else? Unproportionate anger. Sharmishta and Devyani. Or they ladies, they we cannot say whether they were too angry or less angry. I'm not sure. So that okay, any other where we see that it is clearly too much anger. Indra on the Vrajvasis. Yeah, Vrajvasis. For such small thing, he became too much angry and he wanted to kill them all. And too much unproportionate. Indra on Dadiji. Vishwarup. Vishwarup. He cuts off his head because he is giving oblations to demons also. Okay, then he himself has to face reaction because of his too unproportionate anger. Then that was super unappropriate anger, disproportionate. Although there was no mistake, but still he was angry. Ramchandra Puri. Then Shaubari Muni on Garuda. Then we hear of Vali on Sugriva. That was again unproportionate anger. So like that, then Vashishta also we are seeing in 9th canto. Vashishta becoming 2 times angry and disproportionately. And is it 9th canto? Vashishta becomes angry on Prasradra. Prasradra. When he is protecting the cows and by mistake he kills one cow, he curses him. He becomes Shudra. And another time he curses Nimi Maharaj disproportionately because he didn't wait for him for the yajna. He went to Swargalok and till that time he conducted yajna. So he curses Nimi also. So like that, disproportionate angers are also mentioned. And the person who becomes disproportionately angry, actually he only suffers in the end. And we see Daksha, because of such a small mistake, he became so angry and then later he had to suffer. He had to have goat's head and then again take one more birth, and in that also he commits offense. So actually Daksha commits offense against 3 Mahajans. First he commits offense against Brahma also. Later he will say, because of this Parameshti, because of him I gave daughter to Lord Shiva. So he commits offense against Brahma, then Shiva, and then later Narada. So 3 Mahajans amongst 11. Great score he had. He offended 3 Mahajans. So that was Daksha. Like that. So Vishnu Chakra Thakur gives another meaning of this verse again. That he says, in the 11th verse, he says, Vishnu Chakra Thakur says, and however, the words also can be taken as a praise of Shiva. Until today, he has kept my bad behavior secret. Daksha is saying. Now, because he is omniscient, he is first to understand. Therefore, he did not stand up and welcome me. Because Lord Shiva knows how bad I have a lot of anarthas inside me. That's why he has kept quiet. He is omniscient. That's why he didn't stand. He didn't tell to others. That's what he's telling. That's another meaning, Vishnu Chakra Thakur says. Okay, 12th verse. Question. Question at the end. At the end of the sacrifice, we'll have a question. Daksha Lord Shiva episode. We'll take in the end or it's fine. No? Okay. Okay, let Anand Gopru ask. He is my superior. Okay, you can ask. Quick. Anyway, we have today 35 verses, so I hope I'm confident we'll be able to complete.
Hare Krishna.
So there is like the concept of the Lok Sangraha, and the people do their duties dutifully. Even the Lord, when he descends, he acts only for the people to follow. Whenever like the Lord is also giving a respect to his elders, Lord is also bowing down, and he is giving the respect as a general human being has to do. So that is a concept. And the example or the you quoted about that small boy in your school, he was been beaten up. So it is like both sides has to be same way. Like the boy also has to give a respect, and the teacher should not demand, he should command. But it is not that actually the boy should not give. The boy also has to respectfully, even if he is not having that. Actually, once Gargamuni asked, Gargamuni Prabhu asked that, I don't feel that I should bow down in front of you, but still,
Yeah, yeah.
you have to bow down. So
Hmm.
it is like Lord Shiva, he was in a he was in a
Trance.
transcendental position. But how we can see this episode then? So like the Daksha was as a social background, he was having the elevated seats. He was the like father-in-law. So his expectation from his junior, it was rightful. It's like the exaggeration of that, the emotion, then it was a wrong thing. But how we can see like the Shiva is not actually giving a respect. It was not intentionally, it is unintentionally.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
the both side has to be what we can say. It has been seen in a proper perspective. It is not only one side we can just beat it
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Got it. Yeah. Nice question. So here we see that why Shiva also could have stood up as a respect, a social custom, and Daksha is getting angry. So because Daksha was in higher position, that's true. So this, I had that point was coming, so we'll discuss only. This Chaitanya Bhagavan was telling that uh, sometimes we should, if somebody is not behaving the way they are, then we have to know the reason behind why they are behaving like that. So he was telling. So he was telling about everybody is carrying. Like he was giving example, just like if you see somebody walking, mm, teda chal raha hai koi to, and you see why he is walking like that. But then you see above his head he is carrying a huge load. That's why he's walking little teda. Huh? So like that he said everybody is carrying some mental load. Everybody carries some mental load, his mind, some disturb or something he might be having. That's why sometimes somebody may be behaving little differently. So if we just see that this fellow is behaving differently and directly criticize him without knowing the reason why he is behaving like that, so that may not be appropriate. As in this case, Lord Shiva was in completely in trance, in meditation. So he, of course, later says also. So again, Prabhuji was telling one example that when he had gone to USA, Chaitanya Charampur, so there he was doing many programs and he had gone to many houses of Grahastha for doing program. So one devotee who was like Prabhupada disciple, mm, so he was having a dog with him in his house. So Chaitanya was saying, how come the devotees, how they keep dogs? We criticize dogs so much. We should not have attachment to dogs and having dogs. So he saw quite some of the like proper disciples. They were having dogs with them. So one proper disciple, he was having always dog. He would carry with him that dog, big dog. Yes. Like Chaitanya was saying, how come devotees they are not attached to all these dogs, and how he is keeping dog? Somebody keeping dog means he is so attached. A relation, you paid dog. So then he once asked him, disciple of Prabhupada, that why you are keeping like dog? For Indians, we don't have, but there are many of them. So he asked, why you keep this dog? So then he said, actually, this is not a normal dog. This is called a seizure dog. So what is seizure? So they have special dogs in America. So this the devotee of Prabhupada's disciple, he gets fits sometimes, seizure. Mm. When suddenly fits, somebody gets fit suddenly, so body goes out of control. So he said, uh, sometimes when I'm walking on the road here, there suddenly I get fits, like that I have problem. So this dog had saved me 3 times from dying on the road, because he was walking like that and suddenly he got fit. uh. So these dogs are specially trained, seizure dogs. They are very costly dogs. And whenever somebody, that owner, he gets fit and he falls, then the dog will come in between and he will, as a cushion, and he will save him. And then he will bark, and gather nearby people, and then they have a badge, seizure dog, so people know that this owner is having a seizure. So they immediately they will call ambulance and like this. So he said, this Prabhupada disciple said that 3 times he has saved me like that, this dog. So that's why I keep this dog. And Chaitanya, oh really? So somebody, why somebody is doing what, so we don't know. So unless we know the reason why. So he was telling that in cricket they have this one rule of benefit of doubt. I don't know, I never watched so much, but he was telling the benefit of doubt. What is that? If somebody is like out, I mean somebody is, suppose somebody thinks he's out or not, then they first umpire, second umpire, third umpire, they see, but they are not sure whether he's out or not. Some are saying out, or not out, the confusion hai. Then in that case, what they do? Benefit of doubt. He is not out. So like that, he was telling that we should give devotees benefit of doubt. Keep, ऐसा क्यों किया? Then maybe not he is having ill intentions. Try to find out. Then we will be surprised. Oh, really? This means. So he was telling everybody is carrying some mental load in his mind. So why somebody is acting like that way, we may not know immediately. But if we know the reason behind, then we can know. So like that, Lord Shiva was completely trance. He didn't knew that Daksha had come. And in that case also, even if he doesn't stand, Prabhupada writes that his position is higher. Lord Shiva's position is higher than Daksha's position, like that. So that is the case. And in that case also, still he was not aware that Daksha has come. So Daksha, not knowing the reason why he is not standing, he started criticizing. And not only just he, 3 mistakes he does. First of all, he criticizes Lord Shiva. Second thing, he doesn't stop there, he curses Lord Shiva. And third thing is, everybody is saying, please stay here and continue. He leaves that assembly also. So 3 mistakes. It was like too inappropriate, disproportionate anger. Criticizing Lord Shiva, ठीक है, उतना ठीक था. But then cursing also Lord Shiva. And then he was not satisfied with that, then he leaves the assembly and goes also. So never knew that. If only he could have asked later Lord Shiva that exactly what happened. You didn't stand up. Why you didn't stand? I felt little hurt, you didn't stand. Oh Lord Shiva, sorry, I'm really sorry. I was in trance, in meditation. Now I will offer obeisances to you. Lord Shiva might have said. And the matter would have been closed. But he never asked that, kya ho gaya? So the Gaurang Darshan was telling 3 responses we can have. First is you tolerate the insult. And then if you cannot tolerate, then you give feedback. And if by feedback also that person doesn't improve, then you take some action. But directly taking action is not good. So like that, he directly jumped to the third taking action event. So that's why Lord Shiva says ahead that he was in trance, like that. So,
Just small one thing.
Yeah.
Like in Mahabharata, when Draupadi was cursing, Draupadi was aggravated and was talking to Krishna, why you was so late. It was like Krishna answered and says that it was my mistake. I didn't came on time.
Vastraharan.
So yeah, it was like, it was not a Krishna's mistake at all. But Krishna showed the example that right beyond right. Like somebody is aggravated that time at least, and he is or she was too much disturbed. So Krishna asked the forgiveness. And it was the whole thing was closed. here also like when Daksha was aggravated by this like action, uh, Shiva could have said that okay, it was my mistake.
But there was no time only. He just criticized, cursed, and left the assembly. There was no
No,
time.
no, it was like the thing was happening and it was in between. He
When
could have said that. It was like the whole thing is like whole assembly was
Daksha
saying
was
that.
so
It
fast
was
in
not.
cursing, and he was so
It
he just
was.
went on speaking only. Lord Shiva didn't have
See,
any time.
we are seeing all the episode from the Daksha's point of view. It's like whole episode has not been taken in such a way that agar ek word agar he was not at all in at a mistake, but still whenever we are talking in front of our seniors and the seniors we are trying to tell that it was not my mistake, but
Mm.
still the things are actually happening in that way. We ask the forgiveness, so it is like okay मेरा mistake हो गया, तो उसमें ऊपर कुछ जाता ही नहीं है प्रभु जी.
Yeah, in that time, he it was like he went away. But later you are saying that later after the yajna or like that, Lord Shiva could have approached Daksha and clarified like that. You know, there at least there was hardly any chance. Acha. Because when Daksha was cursing, that time he could have stopped. Wait, you know, I beg forgiveness. I offer obeisances like that. Okay, that actually ahead it comes where Vishnu Chakravarti or Thakur or somebody states that even Lord Shiva was also affected by Daksha's cursing, and he was feeling insulted because there it states that Lord Shiva, although he's self-satisfied Atma Ram, but because he has to deal with Tamoguna, you know, he also gets affected. So there it comes ahead in the next chapter maybe. So there he was also affected in that way. So he couldn't have done that ideal behavior, as you say, you know, okay, begging forgiveness from Daksha like that. So he is also dealing with Tamoguna. So he also gets affected. It comes later. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes like that, Lord Shiva's behavior. But we see Lord Vishnu's, in case of like Bhrigu Muni hitting him on the chest, that is like the ideal behavior. Still he catches his lotus feet and massage. I am sorry that your lotus feet would have hurt, like that. So that is like ideal behavior which Lord shows because he's beyond the modes. But Shiva then, because Lord Shiva deals with Tamoguna, so then there is some effect. Although his Atmaram also it's called. So that will come ahead. He says like that. So maybe because of that reason. Okay, 12th we have completed, right? 13th, na? लुप्त क्रियाया सुचये मानिने भिन्न सेतवे अनिच्छन्नपि आदां बालं सुराये वोषितं गिरम्.
12 is remaining.
Oh, sorry. 12 is remaining. 12 will chant. गृहीत्वा मृगशावकस्य पानिं मर्कटलोचना प्रत्युत्थानाभिवादार्हे वाचापि अकृतनोचितम्.
He has eyes like a monkey's, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think it fit to welcome me with sweet words.
लुप्त क्रियया शुचये मानिने भिन्न सेतवे अनिच्छन्नपि आदां बालं शूरायेवोषितं गिरम्. Next. Read the 13th.
I had no desire to give my daughter to this person who has broken all rules of civility. Because of not observing the required rules and regulation, he is impure. But I was obliged to hand over my daughter to him, just as one teaches the message of the Vedas to a Shudra.
You go ahead. And next verse. प्रेतावासी घोरेषु प्रेतैर्भूतगणैर्वृत अतिथि उन्मातवन्नग्नो व्युक्ताकेशो हसन् रुदन् चिताभस्मकृतस्नान प्रेतश्रन्नृष्यति भूषण शिवापोदेशो हि अशिवो Bhakto Matta Jana Priya Pati Pramatha Nathanam Tamo Matratmakatmanam.
He lives in filthy places like crematoriums, and his companions are the ghosts and the demons. Naked like a madman, sometimes laughing and sometimes crying, he smears crematorium ashes all over his body. He does not bathe regularly, and he ornaments his body with a garland of skulls and bones. Therefore, only in name is he Shiva or auspicious. Actually, he is the most mad and inauspicious creature. Thus, he is very dear to crazy beings in the gross mode of ignorance, and he is their leader.
Okay. So here now Daksha is digging out the whole history of Lord Shiva. He's like this, like this, like this. For one mistake, so he's telling that Lord Shiva, his whole life is inauspicious. Hmm. So somebody does some mistake, and then what we do? We bring out his whole history. You know? ये अरे अभी का नहीं है, ये तो पहले से ऐसा है, he did like that, he did like that, his character is like that. For once also, don't try to point the fault in the activity and not in the attitude of the person. He said, difference in this attitude only is not good. You know, he did like this so many times. This time, then the person becomes more, defensive like that. But there is some fault in the activity, and then he just points out that this you did do, and he may accept like that. So here he is saying about how Lord Shiva is so unclean, inauspicious. He stays in crematorium. But the actual reason why he stays, so this Radhika Vallabh was telling that because he he is so merciful, he wants to deliver the ghosts and like pretas and these people. So he has to live like that there in the crematorium, and then he will put the ash and like, so these ghosts also feel अरे ये भी एक अपने में से ही एक, he is also one of us. So they become attracted to him. So that's why Lord Shiva stays in such a place, crematorium, and puts all ashes dirty, so that this ghost and they get attracted, and then he delivers them. So for that reason he stays like that, Lord Shiva. So he was giving example of how Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, when he was preaching in Africa, so their preaching is so difficult. I was telling that not like India, we is like sense revision preaching means. So there people, he was telling that when once Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and some of his disciples, they were going in a car, and they were going through a jungle. So that time this there are some hoodoo magicians there, in Africa. So they put a spell on you, and that can create. So they put a spell on this. There's devotees traveling, and then their car suddenly toppled in the middle only, without anything. Yeah? And then the accident. But of course, Maharaj ko kuch nahi hua. But like that, he was telling that people, like you are giving lecture like this, Bhakti Vaibhav, and suddenly some person will stand up and put some spell on you. You will be just stunned there. You cannot speak anything, paralyzed on the spot. Like the hoodoo magician, I think, in Africa. So like that, Maharaj was preaching, and once he had gone like that to preach inside, like, quite in the forest. And that time, suddenly these people caught him, these Adivasis, and they said, now we are going to take you to our place for lunch. So Gaurang Prabhu said, now it means two meanings are there. Whether they are inviting you for the lunch, or they are going to make lunch of you. So like that they caught Maharaj, and then they took him inside to their leader, who was sitting on the high seat like that. And when they brought Maharaj to this leader he suddenly jumped from his seat and went and caught Maharaj's feet. And he said, oh, whatever they call, where were you from so many days? I was searching for some Hare Krishna devotees. He said, what happened? He said, see, somewhere I got this book, and he showed Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. Somebody, gave me. Devotees gave the a leader only the book, And he said, this book I have got, this Bhagavad Gita, and I know this spiritual book, uh, and I am trying to read. I read it so many times, but I am not able to understand anything. So I want somebody who can explain me this Bhagavad Gita. Can you please explain? I am there for that only, he said. I can explain you. And then he said, then later he told to Maharaj that, of course, Maharaj stayed there for some days and taught him Gita. And then at the end, he said, that person said that I have this my small son. You take this son with you as your assistant and make him devotee like you. And he gave his son also. And that leader also, he became a devotee. And then actually these people, this community of these tribals, they were so much influenced by Maharaj that they made him the leader of their community. And you might have seen Maharaj some pictures with big stick and some different dress only and like a cap. How many of you have seen Maharaj in some different? So that is their dress, these people. So Maharaj used to wear such dress to please them. So that these people will feel some friendship that ये हमारे ही है. So because he was made the leader of their community. So he would go in that dress, what they would wear. ऐसे देखा है, बड़ा stick रखते थे, टोपी and big like this dress. So because these people will feel that he is, and like that he would preach. So like that Lord Shiva stays with ghosts, with the in the crematorium with all ash. So these people feels this ghost feel that अरे ये अपने जैसे ही कोई तो है, and they get attracted and Lord Shiva delivers them. So that is the reason. But Daksha doesn't know the actual reason. He feels that this fellow is so unclean, he doesn't remain clean. So that is Daksha's problem. So I don't know details. I know Maharaj says like that. I say every time she gives up body, but why she gives up every time body? Because Daksha. I say Lord Shiva. That story somewhere I also heard, but I don't know the detail of that. Bhagavad Mahatma. But once she gives because of Daksha, then again and again why she gives, like what is it? Hmm. Mike. Haribo, Mike.
Hare Krishna. So I heard this story like that. So that Narad Muni goes to Lord Shiva and Parvati, and Narad Muni says Parvati that your husband doesn't love you. So how you know about that? And your husband never speaks truth. I mean, secret things to you. So which secret he has not told? He says that he is wearing that garland of skull. So then he goes. Then when next time Parvati asks this question, so you have never told me secret. You are wearing skull.
Yeah.
What is the secret behind it? And then he says that this skull is your skull only. Every time, whenever you die, I wear that. Then Mother Parvati asked us a question. So every time I die, but you are never dying. Why? What is the reason? He said, I heard Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why I never die.
Oh,
So then she asks that
she also asked.
you speak Bhagavatam to me also.
Okay.
At that time, that Shuka,
Yes.
she is
Like that.
and she's
Okay.
sleeping in between the Bhagavatam class. And, that is the story.
That is in parampara. Sleeping in the class is in parampara. From Parvati it is coming. So don't feel bad. Anyway, it's 12:15. We'll take 5 minutes break. And then half we have finished at least 15 verses. Half we'll finish later. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. 15th we completed, na? 16th. Hare Krishna. तस्मा उन्मादनाथाय नष्टशौचाय दुर्हृदे दत्तावतः मया साध्वी ज्योतिते परमेष्ठिना.
On the request of Lord Brahma, I handed over my chaste daughter to him, although he is devoid of all cleanliness and his heart is filled with nasty things.
Next. Maitreya uvacha vinindaivam sa girisham apratipam avishtitam dakshotapa upasprisya kruddha shaptum prachakrame.
The sage Maitreya continued. Thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands and mouth and cursed him in the following words.
अयं तु देवयजन इन्द्रोपेन्द्रादिभिर्भव सह भागं न लभतां देवैर्देवगणाधमा.
The sage Maitreya continued. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share.
Next. 19th. This is in which meter? निषिध्यमानस्य सदस्य न I think निषिध्यमानस्य सदस्य मुख्यैर्दक्षो गिरित्राय विसृज्य शापं तस्माद् विनिष्क्रिम्य विवृद्धमन्युर्जगाम कौरव्य निजं निकेतनम्.
Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, in spite of the requests of all the members of sacrificial assembly, Daksha, in great anger, cursed Lord Shiva and then left the assembly and went back to his home.
20th. विज्ञाय शापं गिरिशानुगणैर्नन्दीश्वरो रोषकषाय दूषिता दक्षाय शापं विससर्ज दारुणं ये चान्ममोदंस्तत् अवाचयतं द्विजा.
Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandishwar, one of Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he prepared to curse Daksha and all the Brahmanas present there who had tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words.
Next. य एतान् मर्त्यम् उद्दिश्य भगवती अप्रतिद्रुहि द्रुहित्यै अज्ञ प्राथक् दृष्टिस्तत्त्वतो विमुखो भवेत्.
Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is a less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge.
Next. गृहेषु कूटधर्मेषु सक्तो ग्राम्य सुखेच्छया कर्मतन्त्रं वितनुते वेदवाद विपन्नधि.
Pretentiously religious householder's life in which one is attracted to the material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanations of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one's to fruitive activities as all in all.
Next. बुद्ध्या पराब्धियायिन्य विस्मृतात्मगति पशु स्त्रीकामसोऽस्तु अतितरां दक्षो बस्तमुखचिरात्.
Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnu Pad or Vishnu Gati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat.
विद्या बुद्धिरविद्यायां कर्मामयाम् असौ जडः संश्रान्तु इह ये चामुम् अनुसर्वावमानिनम्.
Those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nascently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death.
Purport also.
Purport. The three curses mentioned above are sufficient to make one as dull as a stone, void of spiritual knowledge and preoccupied with materialistic education, which is nescience. After uttering these curses, Nandishwara then cursed the Brahmanas to continue in the cycle of birth and death because of their supporting Daksha in blaspheming Lord Shiva.
So now Daksha actually when he criticizes Lord Shiva, and then he also tells that because of Parameshti, because of Lord Brahma, I gave my daughter to the Shiva. So in the course of his criticizing Lord Shiva, he is criticizing his own father, Brahma, also in that case, that Brahma is not so much intelligent. Because of him I gave, and now I am repenting. Like that he's saying. So when there is quarrel between two, and the third person who is a senior person, sometimes he goes to sort out, he also gets criticized also. As in sometimes fights also, sometimes two people are fighting and somebody goes to mediate, and they beat him only. Like that it happens. So this Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj was telling this when he had initially joined as brahmachari in Chopati long back now, which year I don't know. He was like initially joined Chopad as brahmachari. So that time there were like so many problems there, and so there was some Gurukul and some boys were there, and some few brahmacharis, but they were also rowdy brahmacharis. So once one of the boy did something wrong, so one brahmachari caught this boy and started beating him, with his hand left, right, so beating. And this Maharaj, like Devamrut Prabhu, he saw that this brahmachari is beating this small boy so much, what he has done so much wrong. So he goes to sort out the quarrel. And when he goes to sort out the quarrel, that brahmachari beats Maharaj also. So Maharaj, he said, what is this? He was so disturbed. It's like Devamrut Prabhu was telling, at that time I decided I don't want to join brahmacharya. I don't want to become such brahmacharya is there. So he wanted to leave. And later when he met Adana Swami Maharaj, then he said, I got some faith. I can continue in brahmacharya. Recently in his offering to Maharaj, he was speaking this. Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj. So he went to sort out, he only got beating. Like that. So sometimes two people fighting, somebody goes in middle. He also gets criticized or gets beating. So here Brahmaji also is not spared by Daksha. And then Daksha, he curses Lord Shiva and he says that he will not get the share in the sacrifice whenever somebody performs. All the demigods will get their share, but Shiva will not get the share. So Radha Govind Maharaj was telling this, that Atmavat Manyate Jagat. Daksha, because he is so much attached to shares. So he's saying you will not get your share. And Lord Shiva is hardly concerned about share. He's not in shares market. He doesn't want. So because Daksha thought, "Arey, isko share nahi milegi, he will be unhappy." Lord Shiva was very happy. Arey, acha hai. Because then I don't have to go for all these functions, parties, whenever all demigods go, and then I also have to go and sit there till the yajna is over and then accept the share. So he had to associate with all these demigods. So he thought this is very nice. Acha ho gaya. I don't have to go. I don't have to associate with all of them. So he was happy by this curse. But Daksha was thinking, acha hai, isko acha saza milega. He will not get the sacrifice, share of the sacrifice. So Lord Shiva is happy. And then Daksha leaves the place, and we see that how his anger was so disproportionate. He criticized, cursed, and then left the assembly, although all of them were saying, please wait. At least he could have waited and then things would have been sorted out. But he went. And then Nandi becomes angry. So Nandi becomes angry on the Brahmanas, who were, because on the side of the Daksha also Brahmana. So Bhrigu and all the others, Nandi starts cursing. So 3 curses here is mentioned and some more curses. These people, Brahmanas, will be bereft of spiritual knowledge. And then they will only do these rituals only for filling their belly. And that's why it's Brahmana Bhojana Priya. Brahmanas will do everything for ultimately their Bhojan, Dakshina. Like that. So the Nandi curses Brahmanas. So now it is said, now like Gaurang Dasham was also telling this, now Nandi's anger is also too much. He also crossed limit. Later Prabhupada also said. Of course, he had the right to defend Lord Shiva and as a disciple, but then his cursing the whole Brahmana community was wrong again. So one person did mistake and then cursing the whole community. And that is again Ati Rosh, which Dhruva Maharaj also showed. One Yaksha did a mistake and he was trying to kill whole community, wipe off the whole community. So So then Atirosh. So here also Nandi's anger also became too much anger. He cursed the whole Brahmana community only. And then, like that, some incidences are there in Bhagavatam where one person's mistake, whole community has to bear. That's like Janmejay. Janmejay doing the Sarpa Yag, Sarpa Yajna. One snake did mistake, so he was trying to annihilate the whole race of snakes. That is again Atirosh. And then some acharyas also tell that how Parshuram's killing of all the Kshatriya race, that was also because of that the Kshatriyas who were like follower of the way, Varnashram, so many were killed 21 times. That's why then the Varnashram also, got a jolt that time because so many of the Kshatriyas were wiped off because of one Kshatriya's mistake. Like that. Of course, Lord is his Lord and he must have delivered all the Kshatriyas. But then other side is also mentioned like that. So one person's mistake and then whole community is cursed or hold responsible is actually Atirosh. So Nandi's response was also Atirosh. And then of course Bhrigu also curses whole community of Shaivites like that. So or just like the example we sometimes see, some Muslim did like that. So whole Muslim community is like, so that also comes in that Atirosh. That one person some mistake, but whole community is cursed or whole community is pursued like that. So that is also not good. So we are in bus parties. Our Sudamanath Prabhu sometimes used to go to some Muslim people and explain the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in their terms. And they would give daily some fruits and some sabji and like that free of cost. So Muslims, we had very nice. He would talk with them in their terms. Allah and then Ru and all that. I also learned something. Walaikum salam. So these people, many are nice. In our bus parties, they would help many times like that. So, but one person mistake, when whole community we consider like that, that comes in Atirosh. So Nandi's anger became too much and he cursed the whole Brahmana community. And then the Brahmanas also then counter curse Bhrigu. And he told that Daksha will get a goat's head. Now, why goat's head? Some acharyas tell that because a goat is very much attached to sex life. And Daksha was expert in that. So that's why he will get a goat's head. And also a goat is very short-sighted. So goat doesn't think of ahead so much. We see Prabhupada gives example of the goats. They are at the outside of butcher shop. And one by one the butcher is killing and the goat is happy eating the grass. The goat doesn't think that agla mera number aayega. So goats are very short-sighted and they are very much attached to sex. So that's why Nandi curses that Daksha will get a goat's head. And yeah. So like that, the cursing, counter cursing, and then okay, we'll see some more verses. Now Nandi's curses are going on. Then Bhrugu's curses will start. So 24th is over, right? 25th. गिराशुताया पुष्पिन्या मधुगन्धेन भूरिना मथ्न चोन्मथितात्मना सम्यूह्यन्तु हर द्विषा.
May those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to fruitive activities.
Purport also.
The Vedic promises of elevation to higher planets for a better standard of materialistic life are compared to flowery language, because in a flower there is certainly an aroma, but that aroma does not last for a very long time. In a flower there is honey, but that honey is not eternal.
सर्वभक्षा द्विजावृत्यै धृता विद्या तपोव्रता वित्त देहेन्द्रिया रामा याचका विचरन्तु इह.
These Brahmanas take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money begging from door to door simply for the satisfaction of the body.
Hmm. So now Bhrigu, they are cursing. Bhrigu and the Brahmanas, they are giving curse to the, I'm sorry, the Brahmanas take to education. Now he's cursing, Nandi is cursing, right? Nandi's curse is going on to the Brahmanas. Then later Bhrigu and they also curse. So this cursing, counter cursing started, and we see that this is observed till today. The Brahmanas suffering from the curse and the followers of Lord Shiva suffering from the curse. So one person's mistake, the whole communities have to suffer. Daksha's small mistake, and then the Shaivites, they are cursed, and the whole Brahmana community is a curse, and for the rest of the eternity, for one person's small mistake. So that is how the anger can have effect. So that is called a avalanche effect. You have heard avalanche breakdown. We had in our science avalanche breakdown. Anybody know remembers? Or avalanche breakdown? Yeah. Term, yeah. In science, somebody might be remembering. No, nobody. Avalanche breakdown. That is. I also don't exactly remember, but little small change leads to a big change. I had given on class, that discrete chaos theory. Shikshashtama Prabhu's class is there on that. How a small change leads to a big change. So avalanche is what? Actually in the Himalayas or like that, if you go, there the mountains are there. On the peak of the mountain, a small stone or a piece of ice may start rolling down. And when it starts rolling, what happens? When it gathers mass, momentum, like that. So it slowly gathers mass, and when it comes down the hill, it can destroy a whole village also. If the village is there at the foothill, it gathers such a mass and momentum that the whole village can be destroyed. People are killed. Many times it happens. So that is like avalanche breakdown or avalanche effect. Small change leads to a big change. So like that, Daksha's small change led to a big change. And in Bhagavad Gita also this comes principle. Yeah. Small change leads to a big change. Dhyayato Vishapumsa, Sangasteshu Pajayati. And lastly, one falls down just by Pranashyati, just by one little meditation of wrong thing. Dhyayato. So here we see one person, Daksha's small mistake that led to such avalanche breakdown. So there are like these principles in nature also. How little change leads to a big change. Like suppose a missile is fired from some place, and this has little deviation of half degree, and it is shot to another country. What can happen? It can go to some other country only. Instead of shooting at enemy country, it can go to friendly country and shoot. So small change can lead to a big change. That is like avalanche breakdown. So even like Gaurang was telling about this Ramayana. So when Bharat actually comes to bring Lord Ram back to Ayodhya, he goes, na Chitrakoot, that place is there. So that time when Bharat with his whole army comes, that time Lakshman sees, Arey, pura army leke aa raha hai Bharat. So Lakshman gets very angry. He climbs on the tree and sees that whole army and this Bharat is coming. He is coming to kill Lord Ram. So he becomes very angry. And he says that today I will finish off Bharat and his whole all supporters. Lord Ram, you just sit inside. I will manage this fellow. Like that he becomes angry. Then Lord Ram says, why are you becoming angry? How you think that he has come for that purpose only? And then later, so it is said that because Lakshman misunderstood Bharat, that's why Lakshman was misunderstood by Sita, Sita Devi. Because when she misunderstands that Lakshman Rekha, she says you want to enjoy, that's why you are staying here, you are not going. So like that she misunderstands Lakshman. And then, because Sita misunderstood Lakshman, she was misunderstood by the Dhobi. And that's why then she was banished. So this is the Vaishnava Acharya there. Gauram was telling that how one person Lakshman committed some mistake of misunderstanding Bharat, then Lakshman was misunderstood by Sita, and then because Sita committed this mistake, then Sita was misunderstood by the Dhobi, and then she was banished like that. So it's like small mistake leads to a big mistake. Small effect leads to a big effect. So Daksha's little this mistake led to a big mistake. Another thing, Shikshashtakam was telling one incidents which like true incidents which came in news. So in America, this happened. Two neighbors were staying side by side. They had their bungalow, and this at one night, this one of the neighbor who were like sleeping on the bed, and other was sleeping. So he sent some message, WhatsApp message to this another neighbor who is there. So he says that I want to have a confession today to you. You are my nice friend, but today I want to tell something which I want to confess to you. So he writes and sends. So the another neighbor, he is reading. He is also lying on the bed and he is reading. Oh, my neighbor is saying some confession. What is the confession he wants to send? Then he types, from the last 6 months, I was sharing your wife. Like that is the message. And he reads, my God, what is this? From last 6 months, he is sharing my wife. He gets very angry. This fellow is a neighbor. He's doing confession. And then another message comes. And especially I was sharing when you were not at home. And then he gets wild. He did such an act, and now he's telling me also, how could he do like that? Sharing my wife for the last 6 months. And then he becomes so angry, he takes his revolver, that neighbor, and goes into the house of that neighbor in the night, and then sees that this fellow is lying on the bed. He's typing something. It's like message only he's typing. And he sees that this fellow, oh, he did such a sinful act. I should kill him. He takes the revolver and shoots him. And he's dead there. And then he goes back to his house, and now he's satisfied. I have killed him for this sinful act he did. And then he takes his mobile and sees another message has come which he had typed. Oh, sorry, typing mistake. Not WIFE, it is WIFI. वो I का E हो गया गलती से. He was sharing his Wi-Fi from the last 6 months, and especially when he is not at home. And then for that he goes and kills that fellow. Like a true incident. So a small mistake can lead to a big change. So, yeah, Shikshashtam was telling this in America. So we have in our Maratha also that Shanivar Vada Dha Chama, Anand Gopro might be knowing some. Dha Chama Kela, na? Who? Anandi Bhai. धरा म्हटलं तर त्याला मारा. राम था Rao. Acha. So instead of catching him, he issued the notice of Dhara, just catch him. But she changed, his wife changed to Mara. So you kill him. So he was killed instead of catching. So don't do like these small mistakes, spelling mistake, dangerous. So that is how this Daksha's mistake led to the big mistake, and then the whole two communities had to suffer for that. Yeah, good. Okay. Now, 27th? Right, yeah. 27th. तस्यैवं वदता शापं श्रुत्वा द्विजकुलयै भृगुप्रयाश्रश्चापं ब्रह्मदण्डं दुरत्ययम्.
When all the hereditary Brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishwara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahminical curse.
Next. भवव्रतधारया ये च तान् समान्वृता पाषण्डिनस्ते भवन्तु सच्चास्त्रप्रतिनिधिना. Yes.
One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Shiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and be diverted from transcendental scriptural injunctions.
Some purport also you read some lines also.
It is sometimes seen that devotees of Lord Shiva imitate the characteristics of Lord Shiva. For example, Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison. So some of the followers of Lord Shiva imitate him and try to take intoxicants like ganja, marijuana. Here the curse is that if someone follows such principles, he must become an infidel and turn against the principles of Vedic regulation. It is said that such devotees of Lord Shiva will be Sat Shastra Paripantina, which means opposed to the conclusion of Shastra or scripture. This is confirmed in the Padma Puran also. Lord Shiva was ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to preach the impersonal or Mayavad philosophy for a particular purpose, just as Lord Buddha preached the philosophy of voidness for particular purposes mentioned in the Shastras.
Okay. So here, those who are the followers of Lord Shiva, they will be certainly atheists and they will be diverted from scriptural injunctions. So the followers of Lord Shiva also they are like atheist mostly. They don't believe in Lord or God, and then they have all bad habits, ignorant. So same what they curse to Brahmanas, that they will become atheist, they will be devoid of spiritual knowledge. Same curse they also got. And uh, even the Nandi, he cursed that you will not follow the Vedas, and it was indirect blasphemy of Vedas. So later, Lord Shiva seeing this, he gets up and he leaves, because now Lord Shiva says that Nandi is blaspheming the Vedas, he is blaspheming Brahmanas. Now next he will blaspheme the Lord also. So that's why Lord Shiva gets up that time and he walks away. So there, Jiva Goswami writes, seeing the great anger of Nandishwar and fearing that he would speak badly of Lord Janardhan, Shiva left with his followers. He seemed to be depressed, though actually he was not, since he was an Atmaram. Rejecting both the path of karma and path of Shaivite, because of the curses of two parties, the path of Vaishnava is the purest. That's what Jiva Goswami says. So what we should learn from Lord Shiva is neither follow the Brahmanas who are karma kandis, neither follow the Shaivites who are of similar nature, tamoguni. Follow the path of Vaishnavism. That's what Lord Shiva showed. I don't want to side with either of them. I would like to be Vaishnava follower of Vishnu. So like that, Lord Shiva, from there he gets up and walks away. Yeah. So yeah, some more curses are remaining. Nashta saucha muda dhiyo jata bhasmati dharina vishantu shiva dakshayam yatra daivam surasavam.
Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things.
Next. Brahmacha brahmanam shaiva yadyuyam parininditha setum vidharanam pumsam atha pashandam ashrita. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Bhrigu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmins, who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism.
एष एव हि लोकानां शिवापन्था सनातनः यं पूर्वे चानुसन्तास्तुर्यत् प्रमाणं जनार्दन.
The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardhan, the well-wisher of all living entities.
Next. "32. तद्ब्रह्म परमं शुद्धं सतां वर्त्म सनातनं विघायात् पाषण्डं दैवं यो यत्र भूतराट्.
By blaspheming the principles of the Vedas, which are the pure and supreme path of the saintly persons, certainly you followers of the Bhutapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt.
Next. मैत्रेय उवाच तस्यैवं वदतः शापं भृगो स भगवान् भव निश्चक्राम ततः किञ्चिद् विमना इव सानुग.
The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksha and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Not saying anything, he left the arena of the sacrifice, followed by his disciple.
Next. तेऽपि विश्वसृजा सत्रं सहस्रपरिवत्सरान् संविधाय महेश्वास यत्रेज्य ऋषभो हरि.
The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidura, all the progenitors of the universal population has executed a sacrifice for thousands of years. For sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord, Hari, the personality of Godhead.
Next. आप्लुत्यावभृतं यत्र गङ्गा यमुनायान्विता वीरजैनात्मना सर्वे स्वं स्वं धाम ययुस्ततः.
My dear Vidura, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna after completing the Yajna performance. Such a bath is called Avabhrata Snana. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes.
So here the cursing, counter cursing went on. Lord Shiva got up and went, and then still the sacrifice continued. So the Jiva Goswami says, they went after performing the sacrifice without Lord Shiva, Daksha or their followers. There were no obstacles generated from their quarrel, for it is said that at that sacrifice the Supreme Lord as the best among beings was worshipped. Thus, without worship of Lord Shiva and others, still there were no imperfections in the sacrifice. Because they are worshipping the Lord, Supreme Lord. Although these great people were not there, still they continued the sacrifice and completed the sacrifice. Like that, the sacrifice was completed. So, here, the Vedas, so the Brahmana says that, Bhrigu Muni says that because you don't consider Vedas, you are blaspheming Vedas, that means you are Nastik. So Mahaprabhu also in Chaitanya Charitamrita said that Vedana Mani Nastik. So one who doesn't accept Vedas is Nastik. The definition we know is somebody doesn't accept God is Nastik. But somebody may accept God, but somebody doesn't accept Vedas is still Nastik, it is said. So one who doesn't accept Vedas is actually Nastik. So that is what is mentioned. And one last thing, just I want to tell one incident again, that how the quarrel can lead to something very dangerous, somebody's anger or like that. So once I was just going for Balaji Seva in the evening, and I was little late for the Seva as usual. I was running from there, and suddenly I saw one person who was there near the gift stall. He was sitting, old man, and he wanted to say something to me. I said, my God, Abhi already late ho gaya hai. And I'm running and he wanted to say. So I was trying to avoid, but he came, he got up and he wanted to say. I said, मुझे थोड़ा जाना है सेवा. Just take me, but important. Okay, बताओ अभी. So he said, see, uh, many years back, he was like almost like 65, 70 years old. He said, many years back, what happened? There was some quarrel between him and somebody. So those, that another his whom with he had quarrel, that person had brought some few gundas with at his house, and they caught this fellow and took him to hospital. Hmm. And he was telling they this some operation on him, what is called vasectomy or something, by which he cannot have son. Like they did something, as he was telling. So then then he said, I said, what happened later? Then he said, later he came back, and then after some years, what he did, he went again, he himself went to the hospital and undid that operation, whatever. And then he said, I married and I got children and everything like that, he said. But he said, though that incidents which these people caught me and took me to the hospital, that operation is still in my mind, and for a single night I couldn't sleep for so many years, 30 years. I'm just that thing is haunting me so much. So what should I do? That was a question. So like that, I said, you chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra behind me. I said, Hare Krishna, you chant. And you continue chanting this regularly and your problem will be solved. Because I didn't know any other problem, solution. I said, and then I left. But after that, I was like haunted by, my God, how can somebody, that somebody do such thing to somebody, in a quarrel, some quarrel may be there, but they did such horrible thing with this fellow, and he was like haunted for 30 years. He said, I'm not able to do anything properly. Always that thing haunts me, how I was taken, and so painful, you're saying. I said, you chant, but the enmity can go at such a level. It's little friction, like forest fire starts, how little by little friction the whole forest is burned down. So it is that how small things starts. That's how Daksha started, and ultimately then his operation was also done. Of head cut, and later he had a goat's head. The small things bring a big result. A small mistake leads to a big change. That's what we say. Okay, so we are almost 1 o'clock. Sharp, we ended. We completed the second chapter successfully. Hari Bol. So we are going on time. And if we are successful, then we will have 1 day off. But we don't know. 7 chapters, 8 days. But tomorrow is Ekadashi? Huh? When? Thursday is Ekadashi. Vaikunta Ekadashi. So Thursday, and then Friday we may have to have. Let's see. But it's going nice. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hari Bol.